Hi, welcome to the Annie's YouTube channel. My name is Katelyn, and today we're going to be talking about the Patriotic Signs Creative Women Kit of the Month Club. Inside this kit, you're going to learn how to make these two really great patriotic signs, and I'm going to show you some ways that you can transform these into other holidays and seasons to use them year-round. If you're not already subscribed, please go down to the description box below and check out the link where you can subscribe. Each month, you'll get a brand new kit with the materials you need to make a really great craft. Come along. Today we're taking a look at the Patriotic Signs Kit from Annie's Creative Women Kit of the Month Club. So let's start off. Here's the finished project of what you're making in your kit, and let's talk about what you get inside your kit to start off. So each month you'll get a shipment, and in your shipment will be mostly everything that you need to complete your project. So for the patriotic signs, you'll get the instructions, and you'll see how to do each of the different parts inside your instructions, and you always get one of those so you know what you're doing. And in this case, you're getting 2 frames because we are making 2 pictures, this one and that one. You'll get a paintbrush to paint. You'll get gloves in this case because we're going to be using stain to stain the frame, and you'll also get white paint to paint your background. You'll get the ribbon and the string that you need to tie on your little embellishment when you're finished. So you get everything you need in the kit. The only thing you really need for this particular kit would be something to put your paint on so that you have it when you go to paint. It's not just laying right directly on your piece. You can use your little paint tray. So that's what comes inside of this kit. Let's take a look at what the project is and one really great way that you can change it up. Following along with the directions in your kit, you're going to make these 2 really great signs, and you can follow each step of the directions inside your pattern that you get to be able to create this really great sign that you can hang up during the holidays. Or you could leave it up all the time as well. You know, they're not super focused on any of our patriotic holidays, so you could leave it up all the time if you want. Now, one of the ideas that I came up with is how can we use these frames outside of the patriotic holidays if you don't want to have this up the whole time? And let me show you what I came up with. So I took my frame, and by adding some words to it on a cutter, I was able to change this into a great little sign to put out during the summertime. So for this, I took a piece of paper that I cut to fit here, and the words I used on a cutting machine, cut them out, and then glued them on. So you can really use any words for any holiday or season that you want, glue them right in here, and then you can change them out. All you have to do is open up the back, pop out the square, and you'll see here it's just a piece of paper that I stuck right over top of the design that came with the kit, and then you can put it back together and it'll hold it in place with this paper. Then if you have a different season or holiday that you want to use, you take this out and you replace it with another one. This is a great idea if you already have a cutting machine, but if you don't, let me show you another idea. If you don't have a cutting machine, you can still go ahead and change up your project and make it great for different holidays just by using some paper, some cutters, some tape, some glue, and things that you have around the house. So we're going to take this sign, and I removed my summer insert that I had made with my cutting machine, and I'm going to show you, we're going to make a Christmas one using some paper and cutting it up. So the first thing I did is I took just a plain sheet of paper, this is like a cream color, and I cut it to fit the square here. So I cut mine to be 5 3/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. You can see there's just a little bit of an edge here, which makes it perfect because it'll get held into place without going over. So this is what we're going to start with. No matter what season or holiday you would be doing this for, you're probably going to want to start with some plain background Or if you're going to use plain words, you could go with a patterned background and then keep your words without a pattern. So it's up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a Christmas tree to sit on here. And so what I did is I found some scraps of paper that I had that were Christmassy, and that is what I'm going to use to make my Christmas tree. I'm also going to use some double-sided tape just because the paper is going to be cut to a good thickness that I can just put the tape in rather than messing around with glue. But you could certainly use glue in this case as well. And you're going to need a paper cutter. I'm using a paper cutter like this. You could use a pair of scissors if you don't have a paper cutter. This just helps you keep a straight line, and when you pull this out, you have a nice ruler to know what you're cutting. So I'm going to set this here, and I'm going to start at the top of my tree just to make it a little easier. And right here I have about an inch cut. So I'm looking at this, and this might be a little bit big for what I want. So I'm actually going to come over here to my cutter, and I'm going to just trim it down just a little bit. So I'm going to stick it here in my cutter, and I'm going to bring it to maybe a 1/2 inch, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So I'm going to also cut it down here to 3/4 inch, just so I have a rectangle, because that's the shape I'm going for. If you wanted to do squares, you could. So I'm going to stick this right here at the top. Then I'm going to go with my next piece. And so I made this a 1/2 inch. So I want this to be around an inch or so. So I'm going to cut it there. And then I'm going to take this down to my 3/4 inch to match the width of the one I already cut. Now you can really play around with how wide you want these to be or anything else. And you're just kind of layering the stacks of your tree. So here I'm going to cut this piece down a little bit, and this one was an inch, so we're going to go to at least I guess we'll do 1.5 inches on this one and see how that works. And now, because it's just paper, we can always recut things if we don't like it. Now my tree's a little bit squatty. It's more narrow. If you wanted a thicker tree, you could do that as well. And here's my last piece. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut that just past 2 inches to give me a nice base on the bottom. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down to 3/4 inch to match the width of my other pieces. And here we go. So now I have the 4 parts of my tree. Now I want to do a base to my tree, and I'm going to use this really cool paper that looks like wood, and I'm going to slice off, let's try a 1/2 inch and see how that, or 3/4 inch rather, and see how that looks. Again, it's paper, so I can always cut it. So I think that's a good width. So we're going to cut this down. We're going to make it a nice square, since everything else is a rectangle. That'll kind of set it off. And so here would be my Christmas tree. Now, if you want, you could put a star on the top or something else that you like. But really now all we have to do is go ahead and tack this all down. So I'm just going to take a little piece of tape, end my piece, and I'm going to stick the tape right on the back and stick it about in the center or close. You could go in and measure it if you want. I'm not going to be that particular in this case. And I'm just going to repeat that for each of my pieces, trying to get them the same space apart or something that I feel looks kind of even. Now, when you have a piece that's a little bit longer, it would be a good idea to stick a piece at one end of tape and a piece at the other. Unless you're gluing, then you'll glue the whole thing. And then I can stick that on. And I'll stick my last piece on here. Again, these are just scraps of paper that I had, scrapbook paper for Christmas. I've made cards with these and had them left over. You can go out and purchase it specifically for this if you want to. But you could also just use all plain paper. You could do all different color shades of green. You could do the exact same shade of green throughout and then add a nice star at the top or something like that. And then I'm gonna add my base. And now I've got this really cute tree. You could go ahead and add some words in here if you wanted to. You could handwrite them. You could use a stamp. You could use a cutting machine, whatever you like to do. And so then when you have your piece all finished, you're gonna go ahead and stick it back into your frame, just like that, and tighten it up or flip your tabs up or around. And now you've got this great little Christmas picture that you can use. So not only do you have some great options for the patriotic holidays, but you can turn them into something great for Christmas. You could do some Easter, summer, winter, fall. Here's my summer page that I took out. And also, if you're using a cutting machine, don't forget to use the negative space. So here I took the letters out of here and then just put the extra paper here so I could have two different options. Or you could take this and turn this into a card instead of putting it on your paper for in here. You could do so many different things with that as well. So here's a really great way to go ahead and take your project that you have and make it last for multiple seasons. Thanks so much for joining me today to talk about the Patriotic Signs Kit and different ways that you could customize it to last you all year long in different seasons and holidays. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and if you aren't already subscribed, don't forget to head down below to the description box where you'll find a link to subscribe for each month. Also, subscribe to the Annie's YouTube channel so you don't miss any new videos, and hit that like button if you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks so much!